So tonight, I'm proposing that we take $30 billion of the money Wall Street banks have repaid and use it to help community banks give small businesses the credit they need to stay afloat.
That was Barack Obama during his State of the Union speech. A couple of olive branches, if you will, to small business. Followed that up with a speech to the Chamber of Commerce in which he actually sounded like he wanted private enterprise to grow and flourish. So how's he doing with small business? For that answer, we turn not to our resident economic experts, our pundits, but to somebody who actually runs a small business. He is Al MICALLEF. He's been on our program many times as kind of our Beyond the Beltway expert. He joins us now. Al, good morning.
Good morning, Fred. How are you?
Good, but more to the point, how are you? Is there peace in our time between small business and the president? Speak from your own vantage point.
Fred, not at all. I mean, we would just like him to get out of our way. It's amazing to me that a handful of people in Washington think that they can create situations that 50 million of us work at every day from morning till night, trying to overcome competition from around the world and overcome issues, and they think they can develop some policy that one size fits all. Impossible.
Well, then let me ask you something, because I thought of you specifically when I was listening to excerpts from the president's chamber speech, and he was talking about going after companies that obviously locate companies in foreign lands. And I know you have a manufacturing facility in China. According to what the president was saying, you guys are the black hats because you're obviously, in his view, exporting jobs overseas. But there's more to it than that, surely.
Yes, sir. We're saving jobs, Fred. The issue is most of us don't want to go overseas. I mean, the logistics of operating in China, for example, with language, culture, supply chain issues are horrendous. But if we didn't do it, not only would we lose the business that we're moving to China, but we would lose the market. So right now, I may move to China, and our policy is only to move processes that are not technically driven. More labor issues. But if we were not to do that, and we were not able to compete in our marketplace, we would lose all the jobs. We would lose our sales jobs. We would lose our marketing jobs. We would lose all the jobs in our R&D jobs and the development jobs that we keep in this country, and have some steps of the product made outside the country.
So it sounds to me, and this is something that I remember former Democratic Senator Paul Tsongas saying years ago to Democrats. It's still true, though. I think that Democratic administrations, and clearly the Obama administration, love employment but hate employers because they don't help you make markets which create jobs.
That's really correct. What they do is continue day after day, literally day after day, putting stumbling blocks in the way of us building and developing new markets. It used to be that the only reason why that you would go to a foreign country to reduce costs was because our labor costs were getting high and we couldn't compete with the imports coming in. Mm-hmm. Today, with all the government programs and all the things that you're forced to do to comply, the cost of labor is only one factor. Now, compliance costs are out of control.
Mm. You said that what you want is for them just to get out of the way. Can you expand on that? If you had the ear of the President of the United States or his chief economic team, what would you tell them in order for it to help you and people like you, companies like yours? All the rhetoric connected with what we're going to do and what they're going to do, and all the misconceptions, or that's not even the right word. The fact that we can't plan, we don't know what's going to happen from a tax standpoint. 2 years is great, and I'm delighted that happened. But 2 years in a life of a company that develops products that are for markets that are 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years. You cannot plan. You cannot hire. You cannot build. You cannot develop. Not knowing what the future holds. So we need certainty, and we don't need a
tons of rhetoric. I mean, the number of things that our president has proposed over the last year, for example, with respect to theoretically helping business. I mean, it would take an army 5 times the size of to just administer and put in place properly what he's theoretically suggested. It's all rhetoric.
Well,
there's no substance.
Well, then let me ask you something, because, and you've said this on the program before, but it seems to be more intense now. The president, usually when he is making some kind of gesture to small business, it's in terms of loans or grants or moving capital around. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, most of this comes from regulatory barriers that need to be taken down before you can even make use of the loans. What are the regulations that you, and I know you manufacture auto parts to a large degree, what do you need taken down to allow your business to grow?
Well, Fred, I mean, let's talk about banking just for 1 second. He talks about making it easier for small businesses to access capital.
Uh-huh.
Well, but if you go to a bank, the restrictions from the feds to the banking institutions are so incredulously onerous that they're afraid to loan money to small businesses. In the past, they would, but today the restrictions and the oversight is so incredible that it's nearly, you have to be nearly a perfect functioning company in today's environment to even get a loan. Yet he talks about making money available to small business, but the policies of the feds is just absolutely the opposite.
Having heard all of that, having you said all that, is business getting better for you?
Yes, business is slowly getting better for us, because I think we're in a cycle where a lot of this economic downturn is mental, and I think people have now gotten to a point where they're saying, I just can't wait any longer for that car. I can't wait any longer to buy that washing machine. The people are still cautious, but there's some spending, and when there's some spending, our business slowly increases. Our profitability is on the edge of not existent, because we don't have the volume, and the client just costs for doing business outrageous.
It's better. Is it sustainable, I guess, is a better question.
It would be sustainable if there was a halt on regulations and a rollback on some things and some loosening of credit, really. But this is a world economy. It is not going to change. When you're paying $1.30 an hour in China for an employee, which includes housing, medical care for them, and you're paying $20-some an hour in the U.S., and labor's anywhere from 15 to 20% of the product cost, it's not going to go away, because in the past, Japanese had a saturation point once they got full employment. Taiwan, once they got full employment. It's going to be a long time before China gets full employment.
Okay.
All right, Al. Always good to check in with you from time to time. We appreciate it, as always.
Thanks a lot.